Ladies and gentlemen, when I first walked into that gallery, I had no intention of digging up the past. I came merely to escape the weight of my own memories, those lingering shadows that cling to the corners of the heart long after love has walked away. But fate has its peculiar ways of leading us back to what we thought we had buried. It was a quiet afternoon, the kind when even sunlight seems too tired to shimmer. My heels clicked against the marble floor as I wandered past frames of nameless faces. And then, I stopped. There, upon the farthest wall, beneath the soft glow of golden light, was a portrait that stole the air from my lungs. The man in the painting had eyes I had once kissed under moonlight, a smile I had traced with trembling fingers, and a scar above his brow that I once bandaged with trembling hands. It was him. The man I had loved. The man who vanished without goodbye. My heart raced, my body frozen between disbelief and recognition. I moved closer, as if approaching a sacred relic, afraid to blink, afraid that one breath might erase him from sight. The placard beneath the frame read, "Portrait of Lord Adrian Blackwell, commissioned by Lady Celeste." The name struck me like thunder in an empty sky. Lady Celeste. The elegant socialite, adored by the elite, known for her charm and grace. She was there that night too, standing just a few feet away, greeting guests with the composure of someone who had never known loss. And as our eyes met, she smiled, unaware that the man in her painting was the ghost of my past. The gala continued, laughter echoing through the hall, champagne glasses clinking like tiny shards of crystal dreams. But my heart was elsewhere, trapped between the strokes of that painted face. I approached Lady Celeste, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. "Madam," I began softly, "the man in your portrait, he looks familiar." She turned to me, her pearl earrings catching the light. "Oh, you know Adrian." The name rolled off her tongue effortlessly. Adrian, as if she had said it 1,000 times before, whispered it into the night, maybe even carved it into her heart. My throat went dry. I had not heard that name spoken in years. I smiled faintly, trying to appear calm. "Yes, I once knew him." Her eyes softened, and for a fleeting second, I saw something in them, a flicker of pain, recognition, or perhaps guilt. "He was a dear friend," she said, "gone too soon." Gone too soon. Those words sliced through me. I wanted to ask how she knew him, how long, why she painted him, but fear kept me still. Fear of the answer. Fear that the story she carried might end the one I still clung to. That night, as I lay awake, I replayed every word, every expression on her face. Adrian had disappeared 5 years ago. No message, no trace. One morning, he was simply gone, leaving behind a silence that echoed louder than any goodbye. And now, his face hung in the home of another woman. Was it mere coincidence? Or had he shared the love he once promised me with her? Days passed, but the questions lingered like ghosts. Finally, I returned to Lady Celeste's mansion under the pretense of admiring her art collection. She welcomed me kindly, unaware that I came not as a guest, but as a seeker of ghosts. Her home was a museum of beauty. Golden chandeliers, velvet drapes, and portraits of faces that looked too alive to be forgotten. But my eyes sought only one. She led me into a smaller room, a study, filled with the scent of lavender and old paper. "This," she said, pointing to a small chest by the window, "is where I keep Adrian's letters. He was a writer, you know." I felt my pulse surge. Letters. His handwriting. His words. Lady Celeste opened the chest, her fingers trembling slightly. "He wrote to me during the war," she said softly. "We were never married, but we shared something profound. He once said he had loved someone before me, someone he could never forget." My breath caught. He had spoken of me. She looked at me then, and in that moment, our truths collided. Two women standing on opposite sides of the same love. "Did you love him too?" she asked gently. "I did," I whispered. "He was my everything." A tear slipped down her cheek. "Then perhaps we are both the remains of the same heartbreak." She handed me one of the letters. The paper was worn, the ink faded, but the words still carried his voice. Soft, steady, and full of longing. "Greater than, my dearest L. If ever this reaches you, know that I loved you beyond the reach of time. I left not because I stopped loving you, but because I was dying. I didn't want you to watch me fade. Celeste found me when I could no longer breathe without pain. She painted me so I might live, even when I could not. The world fell silent. He hadn't left me for her. He had left me to spare me the agony of watching him die. I wept in silence, each tear washing away years of anger and unanswered questions. Lady Celeste placed a hand on mine. He spoke of you often. He asked me to find you someday, to tell you that his last words were of love. In that quiet room, the walls seemed to hum with his memory. We were not rivals. We were two souls bound by the same man's heart, one who had loved us both in different seasons of his fading life. Time has a cruel way of healing, not by erasing pain, but by dulling it just enough to survive. Months passed since that day in Celeste's home. We wrote to each other often, two women exchanging fragments of a man who had once belonged to both of us. Sometimes, she would send me sketches he had drawn. Small, imperfect outlines of faces and flowers, always unfinished. He couldn't finish them, she'd write, because he said beauty never truly ends. One afternoon, Celeste invited me again, this time not to her gallery, but to a quiet meadow on the outskirts of the city. The air smelled of spring and forgotten promises. I thought you should see this, she said. Before us stood a stone, engraved simply, Adrian Blackwell, beloved son, artist, and dreamer. I knelt beside it, tracing his name with my fingers, the coldness of the marble grounding the warmth of my tears. Celeste stood behind me, silent, respectful. In that moment, I understood the truth. Love does not end where life does. It lingers, shapeless yet eternal, in the hearts of those who carry its memory. Celeste placed a small locket on the grave. Inside was a photograph, one half of him with me, the other half with her, blended like two lives stitched by destiny's cruel hand. He wanted us to meet, she said softly. He said we would understand each other. And we did. We were not enemies, we were mirrors. Two women who loved the same soul, one in life, one in death, bound forever by the hidden connection that only love could create. As the wind whispered through the grass, I spoke quietly to the earth. Adrian, you never truly left. You live in the art she painted, in the letters you wrote, and in the ache that still breathes in my heart. Celeste took my hand, and for a moment, grief became something sacred, shared between us, no longer unbearable.